tuned to Video Caroline, the best TV over the seven seas.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. A little bit late, 7 minutes late to be precise, but I don't know why this system keeps on just hanging up and then I have to close it all down and start it all up again. I hate computers, don't you? But you know, how could we manage without them? I'm going to be talking a little bit political today because I've been preparing a video about UKIP. Now you see, Nigel Farage asks who really runs this country, but why doesn't he ask, why doesn't he want UK to go independent economically? That's something he doesn't tell us. Now the question is, who actually owns this country? 53.2% of UK shares are actually foreign owned. 12.4% of UK GDP is siphoned off by foreign companies. Four of our big six energy companies are foreign owned. Most of our nuclear energy companies are foreign owned. Foreign owned water companies pay 30% dividends to their shareholders while starving infrastructure of money. 106 of 150 UK grocery brands are foreign owned. And who owns this company? Well, there's a dollar sign. Look at the military bases that the United States has got. Menwith Hill, Mildenhall, Alconbury, Molesworth and Upward, Croughton, Fairford, Lakenheath. And then who owns our breakfast cereals? Weetabix, Alpen and Ready Brek are owned by Bright Foods, China. Pickles, Branston Pickles, Sarston's Vinegar and Haywood's Pickled Onions are owned by Mizkan of Japan. Cadbury is owned by Kraft, USA. Rowntree is owned by Nestle, Switzerland. Newcastle Brown Ale, John Smith's and Strongbow are owned by Heineken, Holland. Thames Water is owned by an Australian, Abu Dhabi and China consortium. Pfizer US plans to take over AstraZeneca, UK's second largest drugs company. Now what does Nigel Farage say about this? Nothing. Now for real UK independence, I say, don't vote for UKIP. In fact, vote for anyone but UKIP. This has been a party political broadcast on behalf of every other political party except UKIP. Of course, I'm not including people like people on the far right, which I won't even give the oxygen of publicity. Now, the other thing, of course, that I've been doing on a daily basis is reading to you from my sequel to Oliver Twist, Nigel, Fagin Returns. So we've seen Fagin, who's going under the name of A.B. Cohen, and Jack Dawkins into an apartment, a top floor flat, or bed sitting room really, in a Docklands boarding house. And here we eavesdrop on the dreams of a kitchen maid. Miss Sarah Thweedle paused at her kitchen chores, not so much as to think as to dream. For hadn't she been told so many a time that she hadn't the intelligence for thought, that she was born stupid, would never come to anything in this world unless she bucked her ideas up and stopped forever dreaming? Well, no one could stop her dreaming, so she paused, looked into the middle distance as if the dirt-begrimed window didn't obscure the view of passing feet in the street above her mother's basement kitchen, thinking of the fine young man in the room several floors above, wondering if he, like her, was busy with his chores. He was strange to her, not so much because of the colour of his skin, for she'd seen Lascars down in Dockland not quite so dark-skinned as he, to be sure, but of a different tinge. Theirs was a sort of dirty grey colour, while he was magnificently black. Black! That description did not do justice to the many-faceted undertones of his colour. There were hints of ivory, deep in the keys of the mechanical piano in the local taverns, where she'd sometimes go to get her ma a jug of porter, even white as the flesh of his strong, pearly teeth. Oh, she shook her head with irritation, for she hadn't the talent to put her thoughts into words. He'd looked so fine, in that frock coat, fitting closely around his chest, not gaudy like the silks and satins of his master and the old Jew's associate, put into the shade by the dark magnificence of his strong-boned face. But a frock coat, even though he carried it off well enough, was not his natural habiliment. Of that she could be sure. She could see him in her mind's eye back home in what she imagined would be some Afric land, a feathered headdress surmounting his dark curls, the muscles of his naked chest glistening under the tropic sun, a spear of some symbol of chieftainship in his hand, for she could not conceive of his being anything less than a native chief, perhaps even a chief of chiefs, before being carried away into slavery. She blessed whoever had freed him from that entrapment, whether it be the Jew or the preachers at the mission school who had taught him to speak his words more clearly and correctly than any native Englishman, and his voice, a deep basso profondo, that resonated in her very bosom like the rumblings of distant thunder on a hot summer's morning, promising soothing rain in its train. She could not pronounce his name, so she could not even whisper it as she resumed her scrubbing of the dirty pans. Mr. Dawkins called him Jimbo, but that did not respect his status in her heart. James was too English. Perhaps she might name him Solomon in her heart. Yes, Solomon, for he radiated wisdom in his speech, though to be truthful, she had only heard a few sentences fall from his lips. She did not dare to name what she was feeling about this exotic interloper into her dreams. Love? She knew naught of love, save when her mother raised her cracked, whining voice after she'd been at the gin, singing, "Come into the garden, Lord." The poet laureate's words sang of nothing real to her. She'd never even seen a garden, nor knew anyone called Maud, strange name that it was for any woman in the world beyond the romantic male's imaginings. She was not innocent of the physicality of love, as she had wended her way between the painted hussies and the docklands on her mother's errand. She knew little of what passed between them and the sailors home from sea, and chose not even to try to imagine it. But if that was love, then it would not sully her thoughts. Her mother's voice broke into her reverie. "Ain't you done with them pots, you baggage? There's still the doorsteps to scrub and blacken." And as she took the blacking from the cupboard, she thought once again of her beloved skin colour and how it is far richer than any other blackness she'd ever seen or could ever imagine. Tomorrow, in which she blows the gaff. So that's a rather short program, less than a quarter of an hour actually. But basically I'm just doing this to get the bugs out of the system. And to be honest, I haven't done that yet because it's still running a bit wonky, you know, like Thomas the Tank Engine on a bad day, I'd put it. Anyway, I hope you've had a good time observing Sarah Thweedle and her dreams of love with Pagan's manservant, Solomulugo. I can't even pronounce it myself. So this has been Good Afternoons with KD. I'll hope to be back with you tomorrow. Meanwhile, as I always say, be good to yourselves. Because if you're not good to yourself, why should you expect anybody else to be? Bye.